Well, yes, it is beef rib time again, and I've got 10 pounds of beef back ribs here. If you've watched my previous beef back rib videos, you know I always say these may not win beauty contests because a lot of times you get pullback away from the bone and there's a lot of exposed bone, but the meat in this is super tender. And often you can find these for a lot less than, say, short ribs or a full plate of short ribs, so these are wonderful things to smoke up if you've got the time. First though, I want to get a rub ready, so let me move these out of the way. Our rub today is very simple. We're going to start with 3 tablespoons of kosher salt, 2 tablespoons of a coarsely ground black pepper, 1 tablespoon of granulated garlic, and 1 tablespoon of smoked paprika. I'm just going to use a fork to mix this up here. Now these ribs have a lot of surface area, so that's why we're using a good amount here. If there's any left over, you can just store this, but I usually make this in a batch that I'm going to use the entire thing or toss it because I will be touching it with hands that have touched the beef, so don't want to contaminate anything later. Let's get our beef back ribs back over here. Say that 5 times fast. And you can see these are kind of overlapping here, so we'll just do the best we can. We'll move them to get good coverage on everybody. Not taking the membrane off. Personally, I find that if you do that on beef back ribs, they have a tendency to actually separate and fall apart because the meat pulls back so much. I've actually hung these before in the drum, actually the pit barrel cooker, and they broke into like 3 pieces because that membrane really does hold a lot in here because the meat just pulls away. If you want to add a binder, you can, but I think I've got enough surface moisture here. Now, I would give these at least 4 hours to absorb these seasonings in the refrigerator. I'm going to give it overnight, about 12 hours. So that's going to work well for me here. Now, let's take a look at the back side here. You can see we've got just really nowhere for that seasoning to do much, so I'm not even going to bother with seasoning the back side. Let's get a little more here. Try and get a little on the ends here, but pretty tough. These are very thin ends on the beef back ribs a lot of the times. All right, I am happy with that. This is going to go into the refrigerator uncovered overnight. We're just going to let these flavors absorb. And like I said, if you don't have enough time for that, try and give it at least 4 hours. That'll help. So let's say you put them in the refrigerator, rubbed up in the morning around 8. By noon, you could be out at the smoker with these. So these are going in, and I'll see you tomorrow out at the grill. So our beef back ribs are on the Hunsaker Vortex drum smoker. My target temperature for the drum today is 250 degrees. I will have to adjust the vents a bit because this drum likes 275. Our smoke will settle down in a couple minutes here. We just dumped a lot of oxygen in there with the lid open, so it usually takes a couple minutes and then it really settles into a nice smoke. I've got red oak chunks on here today and I'm using a water pan. My plan today is just to let these go. I will be glazing them later, but I'm planning not to wrap them. Plans can always change, so we'll see how it goes. And we're going to come back in about 90 minutes and check these. All right, we've been going 90 minutes and the overall cook time today is really just going to be until they're tender. I've had it take 3.5 hours. I've had it take 6 hours. So really for these ribs, tenderness is the key. Our pit's been running around 260. Like I said, it really likes that 275, and to bring it down to 250 does take some finessing, but it's working well. So let's take a look at these ribs and probably give them a spritz. Very happy with what I'm seeing here. I think you can see we already have some good meat pullback on the bones. And I'm just going to do a little reference tenderness check here. And our temp here, you know, it's up there on a lot of these, 190 degrees, but it's tenderness. I want these to be really, really tender. And even though there is resistance, they are moving pretty quickly. So this could be one of those 3.5 hour cooks. But I want to go ahead and spritz these, and what the spritz is 2 parts water and 1 part of a raspberry vinegar that I found. It's going to be good. All right, I'm going to get this closed up, let these keep smoking, and we're going to check it again in another 90 minutes. Who knows, maybe we'll be close to being done and glazing. All right, we're at the 3-hour mark. Let's check these ribs. I think we're probably going to be glazing them because they were moving pretty quickly at that 90-minute mark. Let's just do a quick tenderness check here. Yeah, we are really good in the tenderness department. Like I said, sometimes they move quickly, sometimes not. So I'm going to go ahead and glaze these now, and what I'm using is a cold brew coffee barbecue sauce. You can use any sauce you want or none at all. Just get some sauce on these. Don't need a lot. Just going to give these a gentle brushing here to spread this around. I know a lot of people don't like sauce on beef ribs. You can leave it off, but on ribs like this, I do like a glaze. All right, I'm going to close this up. We're going to let these go for 30 minutes, and then we're going to pull them because they will be done. All right, our ribs have been going now for 3.5 total hours, which is about the minimum I've usually found for these, but these have got to be done because they were super tender when we glazed them. So let's take a look. Oh yes. Yeah, I'm not even going to probe these again. They were tender before, and with that bone pullback there in combination with the probe tenderness we had a while ago, these are done. So I'm going to get these off, get them inside, let them rest for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to have a taste. So here's one of our racks of beef back ribs. They've been resting for about 20 minutes, and I'm just really happy with how these turned out. Great pullback from the meat and the bone, and color is great. Beef back ribs, as I always say, don't usually win beauty contests. You get a lot of pullback here. A lot of times you'll get bone exposed all the way across the rack. This one, that didn't happen, so very happy for that, but let's cut in and have a taste. I'm just gonna go right here. Let's get this one. Oh yeah, very happy with that. Nice and juicy there, look at that. And for beef back ribs, these are pretty meaty. A lot of the times I will see them with a lot less meat than this, but very happy with how these turned out. And you can see the membrane on the back here stays attached, but it actually comes off pretty easy if you want to pull it back. It's not that big a deal. Look, it just kind of peels off there. And that membrane is sort of a trade-off with beef back ribs. I like to leave it on to really hold the meat together because without it, these can get very tender and just fall apart. Now you may like that, but I like the ribs and the racks to hold together a little bit better. Same thing when I'm doing pork ribs. I don't like fall off the bone, I like bite off the bone. So you could cook these more, or you could take that membrane off at the beginning. It's up to you. So let's go ahead and dive in for a taste. Those are good. Great flavor from the simple rub. Really good flavor from that red oak smoke. The glaze at the end is just a nice little finishing. Super happy with these. And you can see here, it's bite away from the bone. It doesn't fall apart. If you like it fall apart, go a little longer, but it's a different experience with beef ribs, I find. I think if you take these to super fall apart, it's just not worth it. This is how I like these. Now, beef back ribs can be an underappreciated cut, but as you've seen here, if you just give it that time and check for tenderness, that's the key to this. It could be 3 hours, could be 6 hours. Tenderness is your guide here. If you do that, you're gonna end up with awesome ribs.